An empty chest, voices saying I'm alone tonight. But through the shadows in the dark, I heard a fire inside my heart, calling me to step into the light. Chains fell down when I heard your voice. You made my broken soul rejoice. I don't fear the night, I don't walk alone. You are leading me, you are leading me home. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You led me through the fire, you led me through the blood. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You fill my cup forever, overflowing with your love. To the valley of the dead, where the darkest shadows spread, you were standing right beside me. Enemies around my soul, but your mercy took control, and your goodness will revive me. No more chains, no more lies. Your grace is where my victory lies. I don't fear the night, I don't walk alone. You are leading me, you are leading me home. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You led me through the fire, you led me through the flood. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You fill my cup forever, overflowing with your love. Even in the valley, even in the pain, you're my defender. You'll break every chain. Goodness and mercy follow all my days. Forever in your house, forever in your The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You led me through the fire, you led me through the blood. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. My cup is overflowing, I am covered in your
The thorn in my flesh, I begged you to take it away. There's something in me I can't escape, a constant ache I can't outrun, a voice reminding me I'm broken every time I think I've overcome. 3 times I fell down to my knees, 3 times I cried out in the dark. God, if you love me, take this from me. But silence only filled my heart. I didn't understand it, why you would leave me here. But you said my grace is all you need. My power lives in your weakness. So if I'm weak, then I am strong. If I'm broken, I've been loved. I will boast in all my scars, 'cause that's where you are. Your strength is alive in me. I tried to hide it, tried to fight it.
Buddy, no one's fallen for that. was not part of the plan.
I found a terrifying note in an Airbnb in the Appalachian Mountains. Last November, my family rented out an Airbnb up this winding road in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains. Everything was going smoothly, you know, like the first 3 or 4 nights. I did get a bit of a creepy vibe. One night, my parents were making dinner, and my little brother was going through stuff that was just on the kitchen counter of the Airbnb. He finds a notebook, and he's flipping through it, and he's like, Anna, what is this? It is a note written in very, like, creepy old cursive. I will read it to you. I could feel her watching. I know I shouldn't have looked. She was closer to the house than I expected. The creek covered the sound of her steps, if they made a sound. The light in the trailer never turns off. I have a feeling she knows why. And at first, I'm reading it, and I'm like, okay, weird. I realize there's a creek outside. It says the creek covered the sound of her steps. Then, I'm like, if there's a trailer on the other side of this cabin, I'm gonna freak out. There is, in fact, a trailer. If the sun goes down and there's a light on in the trailer, I'm literally going to, like, cry. And my parents always think I'm, like, dramatic. So when I told them, this is really creepy, can we please leave? They said, it's nothing. The sun goes down. I open the blinds. I look out. The trailer light is on. One dim, stringly light. Mind you, I did not have a bedroom. I had to sleep in the middle of the living room. And I have to think about a lady standing in the field by the creek, staring me down and watching me. I text my friends, they're like, get the heck out. I text my boyfriend, he's like, get the heck out. Everybody texted me saying, get the heck out. I talked to my parents, they're like, it's fine. To stay 3 more nights there, I posted a video on TikTok about it, and all the comments were flooding saying, don't look outside. One of the nights, my dad, who was staying on the bottom floor, and they slept with their window open. No survival skills when it comes to that. My dad said one night he shot awake.
So you're not supposed to
the worst smell that he ever smelled, and he thought one of us was in the kitchen burning something. He like ran into the kitchen and was like, who's cooking something? Is something burning? Nobody was awake, nobody else, and he described it as just like an extremely like pungent, disgusting smell coming through the window into his room. The morning that it's time for us to leave rolls around, and I'm literally like, I posted another video, it's of me dancing, saying like, leaving the Airbnb. I was ecstatic to leave. We're all packing our things. I cannot make this up. There was a hairbrush lying on the ground perfectly next to the truck, like a woman's hairbrush with hair still in it. It was nobody in my family's hairbrush. Little brother literally picks it up and he's like, is this your guys' hairbrush? I was like, put that down right now, because we had been leaving and coming from this cabin so many times throughout our trip. We never once saw the hairbrush. Then the last morning we were there, there's just an ominous hairbrush laying on the ground right next to the truck. Throw it in the creek, she can keep it, and we hightailed out of there and we drove home. And I've not been to the Appalachian Mountains since. Be careful if you go to the Appalachian Mountains. Those mountains have seen some things. They are literally older than dinosaurs, and I'm scared of them.
I was just trying to like lay down on the couch for a little bit, and then I started hearing this weird noise, and then Nims goes running into the playroom, so I'm like, what the f is that? And I like followed him. What is that? What is that noise? What is that? What? Jesus Christ! You almost gave me a heart attack. What is that noise? What? What? What the? What the?
Push hate to follow.
Nope. 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 No. Nope. Nope. I'll tell you what. If you can touch toys in this house, you better learn how to pick up a broom and clean.
I got lost in the Appalachian Mountains for 8 hours. For some context, I'm a USF trip leader for the outdoor recreation program. But before that, I was just a wee little lad that liked to go hiking. And one day I decided to hike part of the Appalachian Trail with my buddy Caleb. So me and my buddy Caleb got dropped off by my great-grandparents. My great-grandfather told me, "Oh, just follow everyone else. You'll be fine." We hiked for a few hours, and once we got to the view spot on the trail, we decided to hang out for a little bit and have some trail snacks. Everything seemed to be going okay, until it didn't. We'd been waiting up there for a while, and everyone had already left before us, so we started heading down the only other trail we could see. Then came a split in the trail. Since we couldn't see anybody, we picked the one that had like a blue sign on it. We figured, hey, at least this has got to lead somewhere, right? After 2 hours down this trail and not a single soul in sight or animal in sight, we started to get a little bit worried and talked a little bit about skinwalkers being on the Appalachian Trail.
Oh, that's smart.
It's now 4 hours into this hike down, and we have no idea where we are. We haven't had cell service for hours, and we're completely out of trail snacks. No food, no water, no cell phone service, no contact with the outside world or anybody in society. And now the sun is starting to set. As the trees kind of kill off the last little bit of bright sunlight, it's sort of dimming down everywhere, and the leaves are eerily like shaking throughout the whole place. We start to pick up the pace in hopes that, like, hey, if we just keep going on this trail, it'll go somewhere, so we gotta get somewhere before nightfall. Finally, we get to a little neighborhood clearing in the distance, and we see all these giant houses with huge, like, angled driveways, but there's not a single car or person in sight. We literally went and knocked on different doors, and nobody answered. At this point, I've got my pocket knife on me, like, ready. We keep following the main trail of the, like, neighborhood through and through, and we finally walk into a campground, and we see people. We have, like, no shame or social anxiety at all at this point. We're straight up like, hey, we've been lost for hours. Like, is there anywhere we can call someone? We need to call our grandparents. Thankfully, I still had, like, 2% of my phone battery left, so I could remember my great-grandparents' phone numbers. They told us, yeah, there's a like, campsite ranger up ahead. Just ask him for a sat phone. We found the guy, called our grandparents, and just walked another mile to a lake where they met us and carried us home, and I was so exhausted. So yeah, make sure you know your trails you're walking on before you start to just walk in the woods.
In the summer of 1952, brothers Freddie and Eddie May were playing football at the local Flatwood school. They suddenly saw a burning, unidentified object fly across the sky and then crash into a local farmer's land. Of course, the brothers took off, along with their friends, to get their mother, Kathleen, and told her what in the world had just happened. She and everyone in the party got into the car, went over to the land, and sure enough, there was an unidentified object there that was mangled and steaming and glowing red. A 15-year-old National Guardsman named Eugene Lemon was at the site, and he had a flashlight and shined it over in the direction of the wreckage. He said that he saw a 10-foot being with green skin and large, round, red eyes. The creature then hissed at everyone and proceeded to float toward them. Well, frightened out of their minds, they obviously took off, and by the time they got back to town, everyone said that there had been a gas or something there that made them really nauseous, and some of them began to throw up. The local police and investigators went to the site of the farmer's land, but nothing was ever mentioned about what they saw. All they would comment was that everything had been gathered up and sent off to Washington, D.C. Andrew Smith was an individual who witnessed this, and he was shocked that people weren't more interested in it because a lot of UFO sightings occurred in the 50s during that time period. He did note that he was excited that it had made national headlines. He is now the curator of the Flatwoods Monster Museum and said that the town is very proud of their sign that you will see that welcomes you to Flatwoods. And this is the sign that you will see if you come visit Flatwoods. When asked if he believes that what he saw that night was something of another world, Smith just says that it's folklore, and you should decide for yourself.
Looked like a deer that forgot how to be a deer, and it was blocking his only way out. This is another not deer encounter that happened on the Blue Ridge Parkway near the Skyline Drive South entrance in Waynesboro, Virginia. So Chris one night just could not sleep and decided that he was going to take himself a little midnight drive out up on the Blue Ridge Parkway. So he drives up there about a mile in, and he starts feeling this immediate sense of like dread after he turns his bike off. And he's not somebody who's usually scared of the dark. He says that the dark usually calms him, but there was just this like immediate like sense of dread, that it was thick and oppressive type of darkness. But he decided, I'm already up here, let me just stay here for a couple minutes. He tried to remind himself that there was nothing up there but wildlife, and he had a revolver and knew that he easily outmatched anything that was up there. His hair was starting to stand up on the back of his neck, and he just got this like sense that he wasn't alone. Chris was a vet. And he said that he immediately recognized that precise feeling, the precise feeling of feeling hateful eyes on you. Could have turned his bike on and used the lights for that, but he didn't want to do that because that would pretty much blind him from anywhere beyond where the lights are. And also his bike was loud. And he just really felt like he shouldn't draw any more attention to himself. After about 10 minutes, the anxiety was getting the better of him, and he decided that it was just time to head home. So he fired up a Suzuki and decided to head back towards the gate. And that's when he saw it. So he says that the term not deer is pretty fitting, but not entirely accurate. To him, it looked like somebody had tried to draw a deer that had only ever been described what a deer looked like instead of seeing a picture of one for themselves. And it was huge. Easily the biggest deer he had ever seen, and its lack of antlers indicated to him that it was a doe. Chris says that the head looked more bovine in shape, like a cow's head affixed to a deer's body, and the legs were completely out of proportion for a deer, like they were way too long. And the body was extremely barrel-chested. Unfortunately, it was blocking his path, so he either had to get it to move, or he had to risk riding within a few feet of it, and he just did not want to get anywhere near this thing. He stopped and put his foot down and decided to try and frighten it away. He was flashing his high and low beams. That didn't work. He tried honking his horn. He tried yelling at it. Nothing was working. So he decided that he was going to get off his bike and find something to toss at it. Maybe that would spook it. As soon as he crossed into the other lane, it rose onto its hind legs, and he just froze. It took 2 jerky, unnatural steps towards him and started staring directly at him. Then it shook its head like a dog with a toy. After that, it hopped on 2 legs, until it went off over the side of the road where the overlook is. On that side was a sheer drop off, about 40 to 50 feet, and the angle of the hill was like 75, 80 degrees. He hopped on his bike and started to speed out of there. As he was driving past where it had went off on the overlook, he decided to turn in that direction. And there was its head slightly peeking over the side of the road. There's just no way it could be standing anywhere. Like I said, it was a 40 to 50 foot drop, and it's at a really steep incline. But yet, there its head was, peeking over, staring at him. He revved his engine and just drove as fast as he could. And he said he never went back up to Skyland Drive alone, especially not at night. One time was enough. The Appalachian Mountains are just so old that we can't possibly know everything that is out there. Now, there's been a lot of speculation as to what a not deer even is. The most likely explanation, at least in my mind, would be a skinwalker, because it is trying to look like a deer but is slightly off. Some other suggestions are that the mountains are just so old, there's like a type of energy here where it allows things from parallel dimensions or something like that to pass through from time to time. Whatever it was, it definitely wasn't a normal deer. It knew he was there, it was watching him, and it wanted him to know that it was watching him.
This happened in the summer of 2002. Me and some of my friends went out on a camping trip. We lived in New York, and all of us were city kids, but I had always wanted to check out the Appalachian Trail, so I convinced them to come with me. There were 4 of us in total: my roommate Derek, his twin brother Rick, and our other friend Cameron. We had planned on spending 2 weeks out there, and then we would call for a ride from however far we made it. It was summer vacation, and we all had a month without school or work, so it was kind of open-ended. If we wanted to, then we were open to calling it off early. We had been out there for a few days, and the exhaustion was starting to set in. The constant walking, the weight of our packs, and roughing it in the outdoors was wearing everyone down. I wasn't sleeping well, but I didn't want to quit. The days were long, and we didn't have much energy by the time we'd set up camp each night. My muscles ached, and it seemed like the sleepless nights dragged on forever. No matter how tired I felt, I just couldn't sleep right. Every little sound in the woods would wake me up, and my sleeping bag didn't seem to be warm enough. I would lie there tossing and turning, trying to pretend I was anywhere else. Still, I knew we were close to finishing this part of the trail, so I kept pushing myself. I think Cameron was feeling the same way, but we were all trying to be tough and not look weak. Nobody said it, but I think everyone was feeling run down. Even though I was exhausted, there was something about being out there that felt rewarding. We were experiencing the wilderness in a way we never had before, and despite the discomfort, it was worth it. One afternoon, we decided to take a break around midday. We had already been walking for hours, and the sun was high in the sky. Most of us were content to sit around and relax for a bit, but my friend Derek seemed to have more energy than the rest of us. While we were sitting around resting our feet and drinking water, Derek got up and wandered off to explore the area a bit.
Oh, buddy's
None of us thought much of it.
crazy.
He'd been like that the whole trip, always looking for something interesting to check out, while the rest of us tried to catch our breath. After a while, he came back and told us that he had found something. He didn't give many details, but he seemed pretty eager for us to see it. We'd had a good rest already, so we all stood up and followed him. He led us up a small hill just off the main trail. The climb wasn't too bad, but we were tired enough that it felt steeper than it probably was. When we got to the top, Derek pointed off into the distance. I squinted my eyes, trying to see what he was pointing at, but I didn't see it at first. Then he described it and pointed again. There, hanging from a tree branch in the distance, was something red or pink. At first we couldn't tell what it was, but it looked like a jacket, or maybe a sweater. It was odd seeing something like that out in the middle of nowhere. The trail was remote, and it wasn't common to see clothing just lying around. We started to worry that it might belong to someone who needed help. So we
push
decided
out the
to go over and
follow.
check it out. It was a fair distance away, probably close to 100 yards,
Sub-destroyer.
maybe more. It was a rough walk, too, because there was no trail leading there. It was all over sharp, jagged rocks, with thick bushes getting in the way as well. When we finally got to the spot, we found that it was indeed a red jacket hanging from a tree branch. The fabric was weathered and faded, like it had been out in the elements for a long time. It was really more like a pale pink, but you could tell that it used to be red. It was torn in a few places, and the colors had almost completely washed out. We all stood there for a
No, I
moment,
can't.
unsure of what to make of it. Derek walked up to get a closer look, but
I
there
got
wasn't much
stuff
to
on
see
my
beyond the
Exum
obvious
too.
wear and tear. As we started to look around the area, we found a few more things that made the situation stranger. Not far from the jacket, we came across an old water bottle. It was the kind you'd take hiking, but it was caked with dirt and had clearly been there for a while. A few steps beyond that, we spotted a pair of hiking boots. One of them was lying on its side, half buried in
I'm
the
only
leaves, while the
reacting
other
to
was still
scary
upright.
videos
It
like
looked
now.
like someone had taken them off and left them behind, but we knew that wasn't likely. Then we saw something that made us stop in our tracks. Near the boots, we found what looked like a bone. It was partially covered by the underbrush, but there was no mistaking what it was. I wanted to think that it belonged to a deer, but given what we found leading up to it, I couldn't help but feel that it was human. I am in no way qualified to tell the difference, and neither were any of my friends, so we didn't touch anything else. None of us wanted to stick
Zero
around after that.
destroyer.
We quickly backed away from the area and made our way back to the trail. Once we were back, we hiked out and reported what we found to the authorities. Later, we learned that the remains belonged to a hiker who had gone missing over a year ago. They had been searching for him for months, but the trail is vast, and it's easy to get lost out there. After that, we called an end to our trip because none of us was in the mood to keep going.
This person starts off the story by saying that they know that this sounds fantastical and wild, but it is very true, and it takes place in the backcountry of West Virginia, which people know is very haunted. And the craziest thing about the story is that it wasn't just witnessed by one person, it was witnessed by 4 people, and all 4 people had unfortunate circumstances happen to them after this event, and they believe that it was directly due to this event. When he was 17 years old, he had a bad experience camping with his friends near haunted train tunnels. This particular place was also a site of sudden tragic deaths. Here's a little history of some of the sudden tragic deaths nearby this site. So the first one is of a mother and son in a creek nearby. Then there was a shootout with police officers, and the drug dealer was unalived. Also, many years before, cheap laborers had been unalived, building a double train tunnel. They were also buried in a long-forgotten little graveyard nearby the tunnels. And that has since been found and restored, thankfully. So Hugh and 4 of his friends decided that they were going to go camping near this area for their last little get-together before they went off after graduation. This was a private property on the backside of a big hill which the creek flows. It flows in a huge several-mile-long bend. Now, they set up camp and they have a fire going, and shortly after after nightfall, him and his cousin sat on a creek bank maybe 20 yards away from the camp. They were spotlight fishing in the water, and then they began to hear like this rhythmic slosh in the water. It sounded like somebody was wading in the water, maybe like halfway up to their shins. So they shined their light around the stream when they spotted something. It looks like somebody is wading through the water. They can see this symmetrical and rhythmically consistent disturbance made by the water of like somebody is standing in the water and sloshing closer to them, except for there's nobody there. There's no body doing it. They would turn their spotlight off, it would start, but when illuminated, it would start again. It was reacting to them, and this was the moment that their stomach would clench because they would realize that what was happening was not a fish reacting to them, it was something. It scared them pretty badly, but they decided to keep it to themselves, and they decided to go back to the fire where all of their friends were. As they were on their way back, they heard the sloshing make it to where they were on the bank. And then it just stopped. But given the speed that it was moving at, it had sped up with them as they had walked towards their friends. And when they got back to the camp, their friends had actually heard that sound. And they figured that they had either gotten in the water for some reason or that they had riled up some fish. And they just kind of played this off because they didn't want to tell their friends what had happened. But after the sound ended at the creek bank, they saw a tall grass being disturbed. It was by something they couldn't see, and it was running around the perimeter of their circular cleared campsite. Now, they clarified that this could have been an animal, but it was fast. This would scare the ever-living crap out of me. Then they began to hear what sounded like a man talking to them, but it was speaking specifically in each of their ears. It was actually all happening in their left ear for some reason, and at first it just sounded like gibberish, but then it became a little bit more clear after about 15 to 20 seconds, and it started saying that they should not be there. You should not be here. You guys need to leave. And then after a little bit, it got more forceful, and it was speaking directly to each of them and saying, you need to leave. Now, this absolutely terrified them at first because they thought that there was either a group of people or a person that was coming up on their campsite that was dangerous. They were all frozen with fear, but then adrenaline hit and they started running back to their ATVs. All four of them saw what looked like a tall black shadow figure with a hat on leaning against their ATVs. Now, pay attention. This thing was just relaxing against their ATVs, but it straightened up as soon as they saw it. It just sort of hung there, staring at them for a few seconds, but it didn't have any feet. The bottom half of it looked kind of wavy in a way, and it stood out against the dark night behind it. The girl that was with them broke their fear freeze by screaming, and then she all of a sudden just starts running towards the tunnels where all those people had been unalived. Interestingly, when they went to start the ATV, it actually struggled to start. It turned over sluggishly as like the battery had been drained or something. Despite working fine not long before they rode it down there. The entire event happened within a course of maybe 5 minutes, within maybe an hour of the sun going down. But they actually decided to put the
mainly just scary videos.
Feedback from people who had actually had scary encounters themselves in this area. Even a guy who Hugh worked with, who he actually didn't know was even in the area. He said that Hugh's uncle had hired him to trap in that area, and it was the only area that he wouldn't check traps alone at night. He said it was almost like the animals leave that place at night. No less than a month later, his uncle, who owns the property, was up on a hill raccoon hunting. It was nighttime, he was with his dog, and at some point his dog was on a rock face above him, and the dog accidentally kicked a rock or something, and it fell off that rock face and it hit his uncle in the neck. This messed his uncle up pretty badly, and it paralyzed almost his entire body. He still had some functionality on his left side though. They never figured out how he got back to his ATV, turned it around, and drove himself out of there. This part is important. It wasn't until maybe 2 or 3 years later that his story actually made it out on the local FB groups, and his uncle just randomly texts his mother out of nowhere. Hugh describes his uncle as a salt-of-the-earth, working, hunting, farming man. Even working past his retirement as a millionaire. Just a stand-up, funny, cool dude. He's easygoing, but also no nonsense. And this is what he tells his mother. He said, I have something to tell you, and I will probably never tell you or anybody else again, but that night that I got hit with that rock, that tall figure, that black figure with the hat on that your son saw, that man helped me get up on my ATV and drive it back home. Hugh said that until he heard that, he had always thought that this shadow man was a bad presence, was not good. But he says now, thinking back on it, while the whispering in the ear telling them to leave, he does think that whatever that was also trying to protect them from maybe something scarier or evil. And he can't really think of anything much scarier than that, but he's appreciative of that dark figure.
There was a family who lived in the Appalachian Mountains in West Virginia. And, you know, they were just a normal, average, everyday family. And they had this young son named James. Now, James loved to play outside, but they started to notice he was going out behind the house in the woods, spending a lot of time, you know, alone in this area back behind their house. And, you know, they often wondered what was James doing while he was going out in the woods. Well, James started to come home from the woods at night, and he would have these scratches on him and bruises and bite marks. And so his mother became very alarmed. And she sits down with James one night and says, James, like, what is going on? You know, why are you coming back with these bruises and these, you know, scratches and stuff? And he goes, Mommy, I am playing with the people in the woods. She
That's
goes, what
creepy.
people in the woods? He goes, the people that are out there in the woods. They play with me. And sometimes they get mad and they get angry. And so the mother tells the father, you know, what's going on. And the father grabs his 3 brothers and they go out into the woods trying to figure out who these people are living in the woods. So they go out in the woods and they're searching. They don't find anything. And they start to think maybe it's just a young boy's imagination and, you know, he's just falling and stuff. And that's how he's getting these bruises and whatnot. So one night, James's mother is awake and can't sleep. She decides to go and check on all the kids. She walks past James' room and she notices that he's not in his bed and his window is open. So she runs and wakes up her husband and tells him, you know, James has left. He's not in the house. He's went out the window. So James's dad jumps up and gets up and he goes into the woods and he's calling, James, James. And finally his dad, you know, hears James calling his name back and he finds James and he says, come on, James, what are you doing out in the middle of the woods? And he said, I'm with the people. I'm with the people. And he goes, come on, we're going back home. And he said, Daddy, they don't like you taking me away. And that's when the father, right, he looks around and he can see there are several people standing in the woods. And so he grabs James and picks him up and they just start running back to the house as fast as he can. And he gets inside and he locks the doors. Well, he tells James, you are not to go out in the woods anymore. You have to stay, you know, in the house. And at nighttime, we're locking the doors and the windows. And, you know, he was terrified. So several weeks pass, you know, and they keep James from going into the woods and nothing happens until one night they see, the father sees that one of the windows in the house has been left open. And so the father runs, you know, and thinks, oh, James, you know, has just snuck out again and went back into the woods. So he runs into James' room and is like, James, are you okay? And he goes, yes, I'm fine, Daddy. And he goes, oh, I thought you went out the window. And James goes, no, I opened the window for the people so they could come into the house. And the dad just had this bewildered look on his face that, what, did someone get into the house? So the father, you know, starts staying awake every night, wondering if something had gotten inside the home. And sure enough, one night, he's sitting in the living room, and he sees a man walk by him and go to the window and go out of the window.
That's creepy.
So he, jumps up, grabs his rifle, runs out the door, and says, "Leave my son alone, leave my son alone." And he's chasing after this man. But that's when he gets a better look and he realizes this man does not have any head. And the man just sort of runs into a tree and vanishes. So the father, at this point is just totally terrified, and he runs back to the house and gets inside. And so he goes and nails shut all of the windows and, boards up all the doors and says, we are only leaving through the front door and everyone has to be in at night. No one's going outside. The next night, they see James, and he's standing next to the window in the living room, even though it's boarded up and it's nailed shut. And he's saying, I can't let you in. I don't know how to. I can't let you in. And the father's like, "James, who are you talking to?" And he said, "The people out there, they want me to let them in. They want me to let them in." And so, he grabs James and he says, "Look, these people aren't your friends. They are bad people. And the only way they can come in is if you let them in through the window. So we have to keep the windows closed at night. We have to keep them boarded up."
Oh God, yeah. All the time. And I will say, a lot of the times that I did that, nothing happened. I would wake up, notice that they were open, and just close them real quick, and nothing happened. But sometimes something did happen. Almost always when something happened, I would see something. I would see like something unexplainable looking in the window, but I would also hear stuff as well. We have woods right by my apartment that I'm in now. Our last apartment had woods, and my childhood home had woods. So anytime this happened, I would hear or see something coming from those woods. I've seen strange deer standing straight up when no trees are in sight, just weird shadows crawling around, things like that. I've heard my name being called, screaming, laughing, crying, all those types of things. While I do still hear those things, if the curtain's closed, it's not as abundant or as loud as when it's open. And I guess because they can see you, they know you're there, they're trying to get your attention. You don't just close your curtain so you don't see these things, although that's good enough reason, but you don't want these things to see you. If you, and this isn't just for like creatures in Appalachia, this is for anyone. Have you guys seen the show You? If you have a light on in your house and it's dark outside, you are a fishbowl to anyone or anything that wants to look at you. Close your curtains.
I was born, raised, and still live here in the Appalachian Mountains. Growing up here, you experience some unexplainable things. There's a set of unwritten rules or warnings or tips that you're told growing up here on how to stay safe when you're out in the mountains. In the last video, I went over some of the rules, like don't whistle. If you hear someone calling your name, but you know that you're out in the woods alone, you heard nothing. Even if the voice sounds familiar, do not respond. Try not to go out in the woods alone after dark. Make sure you close all your blinds and lock all your windows and doors at dusk. Honestly, I left out some of the most important ones, like if you hear something weird, no you didn't. Or if you see something weird, no you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Saw nothing, you heard nothing. But let's say you do hear something. It sounds like it's really close to you, it's actually really far away, and the same thing goes for if it sounds like it's really far away, it's actually really close to you. If you're unfamiliar with the area, never leave an unmarked trail. Trails are marked for a reason. Don't look in the tree line. You can look at the trees, just try not to look through them because you might not like what you see. The same thing goes for if you hear somebody calling your name, don't respond, but if you hear somebody whistling, also do not respond or do not whistle back. There's still so many more unwritten rules that I heard growing up. If you live in Appalachia or if you've even just traveled to this region, chances are that you've experienced something unexplainable for yourself.
So we're sitting out here in the Appalachian Mountains. We got Linda over here, deep in the Appalachians. And then there's Will over this side.
Working the still.
Now they say in the Appalachian Mountains that you never whistle after dark. Linda, why is that?
Because it's like almost like an invitation for something to come to, and whistling is supposedly like draws evil spirits or something. At least that's what I've heard.
Will, do you believe that?
Yeah, I actually do though. I wouldn't be out here whistling by myself.
But you'd be whistling if we're around there, right?
Yeah, I know you guys got me.
I can't whistle well, but
I can't either.
it's legends like these that we like to test every once in a while. Because I believe the dead are sleeping and we won't stir their spirits at all. But,
It's not the dead you gotta worry about.
so you think it's like a
Yeah, it's not
Dogman call?
It's not the dead, it's like the evil spirits that have never been alive. Or it's like the, you know, weird cryptid kind of things that crawl around here. That's what you gotta worry about. That's the dog.
Oh.
The only thing you're calling right now is the dog.
Yeah. What do you think, Will? You think there's gonna be some evil spirits that come up in here or what?
I don't put it past you. I'm pretty sure there's some weird stuff walking around out here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Huh?
You never know. You got what are those things, man? The Wendigos.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, that's smart. Say the name.
Like the Wampus Cat.
Not
The Clan. You might have just called them. They're trying to enjoy their bonfire and they hear Will over here whistling in the woods. Here they come. We got a better bonfire.
If you've ever felt
What
watched
the fuck?
or seen something just beyond the light, you're not alone. Share your story.
Hello everyone, I'm Max, and today I'm here to maximize your fear. So far, 2025 has been a year filled with many strange things caught on trail cams. From weird unidentified creatures such
Good back chat.
such as Bigfoots and skinwalkers to killers
And
and to many
buckshot.
other unexplainable phenomena. So today I decided to highlight some of the most chilling and downright horrifying creatures caught on trail cameras this year. Also stay tuned for a special and very scary nature clip at the end of this video. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. So grab your I Found Bigfoot coffee mugs and allow your fear to be maximized as we recap the scariest trail camera clips of 2025 mega compilation. Kicking the video off with a brand new creature sighting. This one comes from Mexico on August 9th, 2025. And recently, for some reason, Mexico has had a sudden increase in these types of sightings. From cryptids to UAPs to even ghostly entities. And we're going to take a look at a couple sightings coming from Mexico in this video. But anyways, in this one, the witness who wishes to remain anonymous stepped outside this night. He looked up because he saw something moving high up in a palm tree nearby. He pulled out his phone, zoomed in, and got a closer look, and he couldn't believe what he was seeing. A glowing-eyed humanoid creature is hanging from the tree. It has a round head and a slender body with long outstretched limbs. Its limbs grip onto the jagged palm tree with ease. It stays rather stationary, but moves its head around enough to show us it's a real living being. Some people in the comments tried to say it was a sloth. And yes, Mexico is home to sloths, however, many believe this creature is far too terrifying looking to be a sloth. There's just something so off about it. From its glowing eyes, round head, and overall build, most are not convinced. Especially because Mexico has a rich cryptid tradition that blends indigenous legends, colonial folklore, and modern urban myths. Because the country's cultures are so diverse, you get a mix of creatures that range from terrifying supernatural predators to mysterious humanoids and shapeshifters. For instance, one of the most popular is El Chupacabra, which is often described as a reptilian, spiny-backed creature the size of a small bear, or sometimes a hairless dog-like mutant. And in this case, it fits the description. Also, they have a creature called the Nahal, a human who can shapeshift into an animal, often a coyote, jaguar, owl, or dog, using magic. And they also have Aluxes, small goblin-like beings, usually under 3 feet tall. All of these legends could fit the description of the creature seen in the video. So could it be one of these, or is it somehow explainable? With Mexico's recent increase in this kind of activity, most are saying it's unexplainable, something the human mind can't comprehend. On June 7th, 2025, a strange piece of video would emerge. A group of friends were out doing some late-night exploration. It appears this occurred in winter, so it's believed it was taken at least a few months prior of its release. So snow's falling down and they eventually reach what looks like an abandoned construction site. All they really see at first is just a dumpster with some wooden pallets inside and a bobcat machine sitting beside. This is when they spot something strange beneath the machine.
Possible.
Maybe he's camouflaging as the
Yeah,
wood
maybe
pallet.
he is the wood pallet.
Yeah.
You never know. Here's this weird tractor.
The train.
What is that? Yo, yo, yo!
Okay.
What is that? Yo, yo, yo!
All we can see is a very pale round head.
Can't say much, of course.
It pokes its head up and peers at the explorers with its dark, sunken black eyes. When it realizes it's been seen, it quickly ducks back beneath the bobcat, but it was too late. The hikers freak out, stop the recording, and run for their lives, believing they had just caught an alien, or at least some kind of extraterrestrial being on camera. It's unknown why they waited till June to post their encounter, but it's believed to be for their safety. They wanted to make sure whatever this was wouldn't hunt them down for exposing its existence. But skeptics and believers are once again torn between this one. Skeptics voice their doubtful opinions and say it could just be a person in costume.
Or
They claim
they
the
are.
explorers are just trying to trick the internet. But believers talk about the realistic look and the movement of the creature. The explorers also claim the footage is 100% real, and that they certainly didn't fake it. So it looks like this one's up to you, the viewers. Is this a real alien encounter, or is it too good to be true? A simple hoax to gain some internet fame? Let me know in the comments down below. Here is a video that some experts are calling either a legit dogman sighting or a Bigfoot sighting. A lone hiker was out in a reportedly secluded section of forest. The exact location of the forest was left classified, likely for the safety of the hiker and for the creature he captured. It was the end of winter, with very little snow left melting on the ground. As he trudged through the cold, rugged terrain, he eventually spotted a huge dark mass positioned up behind some trees. He films as what was initially a dark mass stands up and reveals its true form. It's a real living beast. It's a giant, dark, bipedal creature that was hunched down, hiding in the brush. As soon as it stands up all the way, this is when the hiker shuts off his camera in fear and runs for his life. Luckily, whatever it was, it reportedly didn't follow him. It just moved away in the other direction, avoiding confrontation altogether. Now, as I said earlier, some think this is a dogman, and some think it's a Bigfoot. Some think it's a dogman because of its more slender, tall build and jet black fur. And when we slow the footage down and look closer, we can see its head is a little smaller, not as dome-shaped as most Sasquatches. However, it still could be a Sasquatch too, because cryptozoologists say that Bigfoot come in all different shapes and sizes. Their sizes can vary, the hair color can vary, their overall build and strength can vary, and also female Sasquatches are said to be skinnier and less built than males. So perhaps this could even be a female. Because all we have to go by is this short video clip, it's likely we will never find any more information on this sighting. But maybe some more information will come out in the near future. Until then, all we're left knowing is this has got to be something we weren't meant to discover. So 4 days ago from the time I'm filming this, so on August 10th, 2025, a passenger on a commercial flight would capture something downright strange. Something that seemingly no one has an answer to yet. So I figured I'd bring it to your attention and see if any of you have any answers. The flight was reportedly at 10,000 meters up when it was spotted too. Check it out. We see what looks to be a dark cloud of smoke emerging in the direction of the plane. As the plane flies by, we get a better look. The smoke turns as it flies. It seems something was flying in front, causing the ominous cloud of smoke, but we don't see any craft. From this distance, you would think we would be able to see it, especially since we can see the smoke so defined. Whatever this is, it certainly looks eerie. So many commenters pointed out its resemblance to the Dementors from Harry Potter, which was pretty funny. But it also got people thinking, maybe this wasn't smoke at all, and it was actually some kind of sky spirit or something. Most are saying it was some kind of UFO though, rather than some kind of entity. So like pretty much all of the videos I show, and pretty much all the videos I'm going to show here today, the answers remain unclear. Spirit, plane, UFO? I would love to hear your theories in the comments down below. The following rather clear footage shows what looks to be a dogman, caught on camera. But what's crazy about this one is allegedly the man who filmed this video was mysteriously killed. That's right, the uploader claims that there were 2 men out there this day, and one of them was brutally murdered after he posted the footage. It's unverified if this is true or not, but the uploader is adamant that this happened. Take a look at their footage. The 2 were boating down a marsh late at night when they spotted this massive creature.
Arnie just so happened to have his phone out.
It was tall, bipedal, and covered in fur with the head of a canine. It also looks extremely muscular. Reportedly, both men thought they were hallucinating and couldn't believe what they were seeing. But they realized that both of them could see it, so it couldn't have been a hallucination. And their footage attests. So did this mysterious footage get this man killed? The exact details of the supposed murder weren't listed as well. However, some believe it was this creature here that tracked the man down and killed him. Because dogmen and other cryptid creatures alike are said to be highly intelligent, this theory wouldn't be too far-fetched. I just wish more details were relayed about this one. If this story is true, along with the infamous video footage, my condolences go out to the family and friends of the victim. The man died, trying to prove to the world that these creatures do indeed exist, leaving behind a powerful story, legacy, and this truly haunting piece of video. This brand new cryptid sighting comes in from southeastern Oklahoma. It was taken in the Talamina State Park area on August 29th, 2025. A couple, Jose and Tanya, were reportedly camping in the area when they heard what sounded like huge animals moving through the nearby area. So they got up to check it out, and what they saw was not at all what they expected. Also, their dialogue has been translated from Spanish to English using an AI voiceover, so that's not their real voices in the video. Their actual reactions were filled with much more fear and emotion than the AI voice can create. So here's the video.
There they are, there they are, there they are. They're going this way. Tanya, you recorded them. There they are, look at them. There they are, there they are. Which way? Tanya, you recorded them.
We see 2 giant glowing-eyed humanoids crouch-walking through the woods. They move swiftly, especially for their size. The one in the front appears to be a lighter shade, and the one in the back appears to be darker. But the shape and overall build of both are rather similar. Many cryptid researchers quickly said this was definitive proof of Bigfoot, specifically the Boggy Creek Monster, a legendary creature with deep ties to both Oklahoma and neighboring Arkansas folklore. The Boggy Creek Monster is a Bigfoot-like cryptid said to inhabit the Boggy Creek area. It's estimated at 7 to 10 feet tall and 300 to 500 pounds. It usually appears covered in long, dark brown or black hair, an ape-like face, glowing red or yellow eyes. The glowing eyes aspect directly pertains to this new clip. Many enthusiasts hypothesize how these creatures came to be. They believe it's simply a regional Bigfoot population adapted to the swampy environment. So was this a group of Boggy Creek monsters spotted in southeastern Oklahoma? The footage certainly looks very real, not like a person in costume from what we can see. They look like real living creatures, real terrifying living creatures that we definitely weren't supposed to see. Now this is one of the strangest and most terrifying videos I've seen in a while. According to the uploader, 2 locals were hiking somewhere in the Middle East. They were hiking specifically near some abandoned houses in a secluded area. They then started hearing some otherworldly noises, then spotted a strange and disturbing entity coming right for them.
Okay.
الله أكبر الله أكبر سبحان الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.
The video, posted on August 1st, 2025, shows an oddly shaped entity floating and jumping up and down. There appears to be a fire burning right above it, following its every move. It emits strange, high-pitched whooping sounds, only adding to its otherworldly nature. The hikers freak out and call out to God to help them, not knowing what else to do. This is when the video mysteriously cuts off. It's believed they quickly fled the area after stopping the film, and that's why they stopped it. To focus on getting out of there safely. I mean, this sighting is like something straight out of a supernatural horror movie. An unsettling, small, mysterious entity with a flame burning over its head, hopping and jumping right towards you. To make the encounter even more believable, the Middle East has a huge wealth of supernatural folklore. Jinns and ghouls being the most popular. Jinns are shape-shifting beings made of smokeless fire who exist in a parallel world. And ghouls are also shape-shifting spirits who eat the flesh of humans and lure travelers into the desert. These kinds of spirits are also said to be tricksters and malevolent, using humans for their own selfish motives. All of this being said, was the creature in the video one of these Middle Eastern legends? The video is pretty unexplainable, and it's been shocking the internet, not just in the Middle East, but all around the world. On June 24th, 2025, a deeply unsettling video was uploaded to the internet. An encounter with something seemingly otherworldly. The witness, a girl named Kada, stepped outside this night because she began to hear some very, very weird noises coming from the distance. High-pitched noises that sounded like they were almost on repeat or something. So she steps outside and films them, but little did she know something was much closer than she thought.
What the fuck?
The video is rather dark, and you can't really see anything. But when we slow the footage down and up the brightness, we see it. A pale alien-like being watching her from the trees.
Excuse me, chat.
She didn't really know she caught this on camera. It wasn't until the video began to go viral when people started to spot the anomaly. We see a big round head with dark black eyes, the classic alien look. The rest of its body is mostly obscured by the thick trees.
In the thick of it,
Also, the noises are just really weird. They almost sound like they're on a loop. Sounds that don't match up to any animal on this planet. Viewers quickly pointed out the creature's resemblance to a gray. Greys, or alien greys, are one of the most famous types of extraterrestrials in UFO lore. They're usually described as small, thin, humanoid beings with grayish skin, huge black almond-shaped eyes, and large, bald heads. Their image has become so iconic that they're the default alien in pop culture. An image that directly resembles this creature in this new video. Now, most of the time with alien sightings, we usually just see UFOs or UAPs, but every once in a while we'll get an alleged video of an actual extraterrestrial being. And there's been a couple that have come out recently, so maybe we'll get some more in the near future. Here is one of the scariest trail camera videos ever. It was released in 2024, but it's remained rather exclusive. The details remain pretty mysterious though. For instance, we don't know where it comes from. All we know is it was taken by a trail camera placed in a dark and desolate area, and it caught something absolutely horrifying. The camera films for about 20 seconds until something emerges. It looks like a Wendigo, but it's translucent.
That's just creepy.
It's a ghostly looking entity, and it just walks right past the camera. As it gets closer, more features are revealed. We can see some huge horns atop its head, along with a distinctively human-shaped body. The camera owner was absolutely shocked to find this footage, so shocked that he even thought about taking his camera down altogether. So he then uploaded the footage to the internet to get some answers, and the answers he got made him even more scared. Most thought it was a sighting of an infamous creature called the Wendigo. The Wendigo is a legendary creature from Algonquian indigenous folklore, most strongly tied to tribes in the northern United States and Canada. It's often described as a spirit of insatiable hunger that can either possess a person or take on monstrous physical form. Descriptions vary widely because the Wendigo is more of a spiritual force than a fixed creature, but common depictions include an emaciated body, a gaunt skeletal frame with gray or ash-colored skin stretched over bones. It's also very tall, sometimes said to be impossibly tall, over 10 to 15 feet. It also has animalistic features. In some later interpretations, it has deer-like antlers, a skull-like head, and glowing eyes. It has rotting flesh covering its skeletal body. And it's also said to sometimes have a foul odor, the smell of decay or death. It's honestly one of the scariest cryptids out there. Its look and overall story are very haunting. Out of all of them, let me know which cryptid you think is the scariest in the comments down below. Here is a trail cam photo of what looks to be a Bigfoot-like creature, and it comes from New York. And it looks pretty similar to another creature recently caught on a trail camera in New York as well. The original photo was snapped on June 30th, 2015, but is flown under the radar. But once the other recent photo came out, it got brought up again. It was specifically taken in a dense, desolate forest in New York. The trail camera, like most of them, was set up in the area to capture wildlife. But this was much more wild than anyone could have imagined. We see a small, dark, humanoid creature. It's hunched over, and we don't get a look at its head. Something that people immediately pointed out was its massive feet. They're huge, especially compared to its small size.
That's a Bigfoot.
Now they say Bigfoot sizes can vary from huge to smaller, so believers guess that this one is a baby. And also here is the other trail camera photo that's very similar. The fact that both of these come from a similar area in New York makes it more believable. While New York isn't always the first place people think of for Bigfoot sightings, the state actually has a rich history of reports dating back centuries. The state's dense forests, rugged terrain, and remote wilderness areas have made it a hotspot for alleged encounters. European settlers and explorers in upstate New York sometimes reported strange tracks, eerie screams in the night, and glimpses of towering, man-like shapes in the forests. While many of these were just brushed off as folklore, they echo modern Bigfoot descriptions. So all of this being said, could these photos be real? Some say they may even show evidence of a different cryptid creature, like a dogman or something. Regardless, the captures are eerie and seem to show something otherworldly. Now, some Bigfoot researchers and enthusiasts believe that Bigfoot has the natural ability to cloak itself, essentially blending into its surroundings and becoming invisible to the naked eye. This idea comes from eyewitness reports where people say the creature vanished before their eyes, or they felt it watching them but they couldn't see it. And today we have a piece of evidence that might support this theory. A man was out in a forest when he spotted something strange, so he filmed it.
Over there, look, over there. Do you see that?
What the hell? No.
we see a slight outline of some kind of humanoid. It's hard to see, but it's slightly translucent, barely visible to the naked eye. The man who filmed this really believes it was a Bigfoot using its cloaking ability. Though some said it could just be a ghostly spirit that resides in the woods. But the uploader points out the shape, especially towards the end of the clip. Slowing it down, we see it has a hunched posture, and it looked extremely tall. Now there are two main interpretations of this cloaking theory: biological camouflage and paranormal or interdimensional cloaking. The one in the video looks more like paranormal cloaking. Biological camouflage is compared to how animals like chameleons or octopuses can change color to match their environment. And the interdimensional cloaking theory suggests Bigfoot isn't just a physical creature but something with paranormal abilities, like slipping between dimensions or using energy fields to become invisible. Could this possibly explain why Bigfoot is so hard to spot? I don't know. Whether the video shows a
Possibly.
ghost, a Bigfoot, or something else, it's downright disturbing. Let's go ahead and take a look at another new Bigfoot sighting, but this one specifically is of the skunk ape, a cryptid creature infamous in the southern region.
Hey, Chad, I think we're gonna call it there. If you have a bust night, God bless you.